Thank you, guys. Glad to be here with you and to be on the campus of Mississippi State University. What a great place to be, and you'll never be treated better than you'll be treated here this week. So welcome, and I'm glad to be back to have a chance to speak to another group at Boys State. And you are indeed the leaders. And man, I tell you, I didn't know I'd get that kind of ovation from the NRA stuff too. And I'll have to tell you, I'm a life member of the NRA, and I got my latest pistol, and I haven't shot it yet. So y'all pray for me. It's the Judge. It holds 5 410 shotgun shells. The only thing the guy said was, he said, make sure you use both hands on this one. So we'll see how that shakes out. But guys, the reason that's important, for no other reason, is our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, right to bear arms. It's a great thing. But look, I'm glad to be here with you. I don't see who's got the clock on me. Kyle, you holding the clock? What time is it? 6:20. They said I could talk as long as I wanted to, but y'all were leaving at 7. So, you can figure that out. So, I mean, you guys are the smartest. Hey, 6:40. Let me bring it in for landing so we can take some questions, okay? All right. We got it down now. So, you guys are the leaders, right? Y'all are the ones that are doing great stuff, going to do great things, and you all got good grades. You're scoring good on the ACT, or you're working on it and doing those things as you go forward. And, I don't like to brag about my academic accomplishments, but I did graduate in the top 100% of my class. Okay, okay. Some of you C students got it before the A students, I could tell there. But somebody's got to prop the rest of you guys up. I was the guy, right? So I'm really excited about when I come in and I get to see a group like this. I feel really good about our future because I see people that care about their families, care about their state and their country, and you guys are doing it right. Okay, so I thought what I'd do is take a few minutes, tell you a little bit about how I got here, and tell you that my daddy was a petroleum engineer. And I think it's appropriate, since this is Memorial Day, to tell you that he was a gunner on a B-17 in World War II. My brother served 30 years in the Air Force as a B-52 pilot. And so I'd just like to know how many of you here have either a parent or a sibling that have served or currently serving in the military. Raise your hands. Proud of y'all. Thank you. It's a big part of us. But my dad, as a petroleum engineer, it meant we moved a lot. So I was born in Jackson. Kindergarten through the 12th grade, I was in 10 different schools in 4 different states and lived in a 5th state one summer. And so I was grown before I realized some people live in the same town their whole lives. I thought everybody moved every 2 years. And that was a part of it. Our last move was from California back to Mississippi. And I came back my 10th grade year. And I wound up going to Provine High School in Jackson. And there was a young man in our 10th grade that wasn't getting in trouble like the rest of us were, I mean, none of you guys tried to act cool, I know. But okay, when I was there in the 10th grade, everybody was trying to act kind of cool. We were, maybe saying stuff, doing stuff that we thought was cool. But there was one friend that he brought an extra book with him to school. And I didn't know what it was. I just knew he read it when we were having a break or between classes or whatever. Turns out it was a Bible. I'd never read a Bible, even though I'd spent a lot of my time in the Deep South. And he tricked me into going to these Campus Life Youth for Christ meetings at the high school. And at the last meeting of the school year, they had an altar call, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior at the end of my 10th grade year. Now, he then got me going to his church. I put him off for a while because they didn't have a suit. I thought you had to have a suit to go to church. But he said, no, come on. And I started going. And I hadn't been there all that long, and I noticed this real pretty girl. and she had an ugly old boyfriend, and so I had to wait until they broke up, and then I moved in for the kill. Okay, so she and I started dating when she was 15 in the 10th grade, and I was 17 in the 12th grade, and we dated 5.5 years before we got married. And I'm going to tell you, you can do the math on this, but this summer we'll have been married 34 years. So thank you. Now I got to tell you, we didn't want children. We wanted grandchildren, and we couldn't quite figure out how to make that work. So anyway, after about 10 years, we decided we better get to work on this, and so our son Livingston is now 23, and our daughter Maggie's 21. And I really wasn't going to say this right now, but I guess this is as good a point as either, since we're talking about love and marriage and all that fun stuff. Let me say this. When I speak to a group with young men and young women, I'll tell the young women, I'd say, don't marry a bum. And I'll tell the men, don't be a bum, okay? Because I don't know how many of you in here have been through a situation where maybe you've had parents who are divorced or not been committed to each other or maybe not been married. But I'm going to tell you, your life's going to be a whole lot better if you treat that young lady with respect. And I'll tell you, here's a good rule. One day, you guys are going to be daddies. And you're probably going to have a daughter. And you need to treat that young lady like you're going to want somebody else to treat your daughter who's grown one day, okay? You didn't know you were going to get a sermon and a lecture and other stuff here, did you? But if you're going to be a leader, that means you set the standard. You act right, you do right, you do it better than anybody else. And sometimes in Mississippi, we take some criticism, don't we? But let me tell you, I carry Mississippi with me everywhere I go. There's not a better state in the union. Don't let anybody ever sell Mississippi short. We know it's the greatest state, and we have the best people, and and you guys are going to continue to do us proud, okay? Thank you. Now look, all right, I've already given you my family lesson here on how to treat a lady, okay? Your life's going to be, when they go back and they interview children, the thing that means the most to children and gives them the most security growing up is when they know mom and dad love each other. So you can make a difference. If you want this world to be a better place, you want our state to be better, you want your life to be better, then you make sure you marry somebody that you're going to love and be faithful to, okay? Now, if there was something else I wish that somebody had told me when I was your age and in the years following, that is how to manage your money, okay? So my daughter Maggie's a beautiful young lady, about 5'10", just as sweet as can be, a godly young lady who would actually, she'd make a great pastor's wife, okay? I mean, she's that kind of young lady. But I remember when she was in, I think it was like junior beta club. She's probably like in the 7th grade. They took a big group down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and she comes back and she shows me this, some clothes she got from Gap Kids. And I said, oh, that's nice. Did Mom give you some money? She said, no, I used the Gap card. I said, well, is that a credit card? She said, no, it's a Gap card. I said, so we don't have to pay it back? And then it dawned on her, well, I guess that was a credit card that she had used. And here's the deal. I promise you will not die if you don't buy it till you can pay for it, all right? So you're going to have lots of ways for easy credit, and they're going to throw these credit cards at you, and they're going to give you these introductory rates, and you think, man, I got a $5,000 credit line. I'm going to go buy me a trip and go fly somewhere or buy me a new stereo or go do something else. and then you got to pay for it. And then when you can't pay for it, they charge you more of what you don't have, which is interest, and you're going to hate yourself for it, okay? So start out strong on that, guys, and you'll be much, much happier. Let's talk about communication for just a second. If you're going to be a leader, you got to know how to communicate. And now what do we do now? I mean, I actually went into a restaurant in Starkville when I took my kids to dinner back during the football season this past year, and there are 4 young ladies, college students, at a table for 4, and every one of them has their head down and is texting. For all I know, they're texting each other. I mean, I'm watching them for 10 minutes. They never said a word to each other. They just send in a text. And so I'm coming up with a new social media I'm working on, okay? Taking the best of Twitter and Facebook and all those different things that are there, and I'm going to call mine "You Twit Face." So what do you think? Does that have potential? All right, now, look, everybody sends an email, sends a text, and it's instant, isn't it? And have you seen some people that they get mad at somebody and they send them something that's obnoxious, or they get mad or they're upset at them to do something? I know nobody in here has ever done that. Now, in the old days, you get mad at somebody, you take out your pen and your stationery and your envelope, and you get an envelope's that thing that folds over. It's got the little sticky thing on the corner. It's a stamp, And so you would write that hot letter to somebody, blessing them out in that letter. You'd walk out to the mailbox, stick it in the mailbox, raise the flag up. You walk back inside, and about 30 minutes later, you think, probably is not a good idea. You walk back out there and you get it. Well, guess what? When you send that send button, you hit it, it's gone, and you can't get it back. So I'm going to encourage you, learn your Christian count to 10 verses, okay? James 1:19 and 20 says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because man's anger does not bring about God's righteous purpose." So sometimes you just got to let it go. But it's how you say things will matter. Now, when my dad passed away, he was 67. My daughter was 2, and it dawned on me in the couple of years that followed, I had not a single thing in writing from my dad to me. Because Mom wrote the notes. She did the cards, she did the letters and things like that for special occasions. And so I had those, but I had nothing from my dad. So from the time my daughter was 4, my son was 6. My daughter's 21, he's 23 now, so that's 4 to 21, 17 years. If I've gone out of town even for one night, I write both my kids a note. And I've done that for 17 years. I missed 1 week that I was in Congress my first term, and I came home and my high school daughter said, "I didn't get a letter from you this week." And then I saw last summer she had a little Ziploc suitcase, which she'd written on there, painted on it, Dad's letter. She had every letter that I'd ever written to her. And there were notes of blessing and encouragement, telling her to dream big, that God has great things planned for you, to never give up. I'd give her Bible verses like Joshua 1:9, where the Lord told Joshua, "Be strong and of good courage," or Philippians 4:13, which most of you would know, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And so those things are something that I think they treasure. Now, I can't control what your parents write to you, but I'm going to tell you, you dads to be, learn how to write a letter. If you write letters to your kids and to your wife, they'll never get rid of them. And so learn how to communicate that way. And if you're going to be a leader, not only you have to learn how to communicate, that means you got to be able to get up and speak on your feet. You got to be able to think. So as you're going through, particularly through college, take a debate class. Make sure you take as many speech classes as you can. The more often you can get on your feet and have to learn how to think for yourself, the better off you're going to be. And also this, don't let somebody else do your thinking for you. Okay, everybody in here is smart. Everybody in here can read. You can study an issue. And just because somebody says it doesn't necessarily make it so. They may be right, but you ought to be able to support it yourself if you're going to get up and make a statement. So learn how to do that. Now, the best leadership book that you're ever going to find And I challenge you to read it because this applies to politics or anything else of that nature, is the Old Testament book of Nehemiah. Read that. If you haven't read it lately, go back and read it. Because Nehemiah, his heart was broken because the wall in Jerusalem was down. He wanted to go back, but he had to get permission of the king. The king gave him permission to go back, gave him resources to go. He went back and he had a dream. So this is true no matter what your dream is, whether it's in business, the world of politics, or you want to be anything, or you want to accomplish something great. So he had a dream. He held it close to himself. He did not share it with everybody until everything was in place. And then he got other people to help. People built the walls in front of their own house. And that's how it got accomplished and was done. And so he also, guess what? Anything you're going to do great, he had opposition. He had people that hated him, that didn't want him to succeed. So he had to have half the time, half the people on the wall had to be prepared for battle. The other half were working on the wall. So you're going to have people that won't be with you. So you got to learn how to play offense and defense, whatever it is you may come about and do. Now, there are a lot of issues facing our country right now, a lot of things that we're going to continue to work on, and we're not ever going to give up. You know, we have competing philosophies. You know, for me, life begins at conception. A life is precious. We've had 50, well, let's just say this. I'm trying to think how many people got killed in Chicago in shootings this past Memorial Day weekend. 6, I think it was 6 that got killed, 17 were shot. You know how many abortions we've had? And look, most of these were just voluntary, abortions. We've had 55 million aborted babies in 40 years. Do you hear that number? 55 million in 40 years. We have 3 million people in the state of Mississippi. Lots of those babies came from minority families that were aborted. This cuts across every racial divide, every socioeconomic division. And so if we're not going to stand up for the life of the unborn, who's going to do it? You know, I get vilified for standing up sometimes. I have people that call and bless me out because they think it's just a choice. Well, it's a baby. And so we're going to continue to stand up on that. You know, there are 2 other things that you're going to see. One is your time. You know, sometimes I know y'all don't waste time, do you? Nobody here wastes time. Nobody plays, Brick Breaker on your phone or solitaire on the computer. In fact, some of you probably set a high score while you were listening to me here give this speech. So, but do you know, do you ever get into a project that you're working on and you got a deadline, you got a report due at school, and you wish you had another day to pull it off? And, you know, it comes up, look, I'm a professional procrastinator. In fact, I would have been elected president, but I hadn't had time to get around to it. So anyway, y'all figure that out. So here's the deal. Just give you a quick example. You math geniuses can do the math on this later. Let's say, okay, I need a break. I'm going to stop studying, or I'm going to stop working on this project. I'm going to play solitaire for 10 minutes on my computer. Do you know if you play every day for 10 minutes, you know how much time you will have spent at the end of a year? If you play 10 minutes a day? At the end of a year, you will have spent 7.5 8-hour days playing solitaire. That's scary, isn't it? All right, so use your time wisely. God has given you great opportunities here. You know, we work on a lot of issues in Washington, D.C., whether it's dealing with the healthcare issues, whether it's dealing with energy issues that we have. Well, one thing we've done is try to help kids with special needs. You know, my son Livingston who's 23, has Fragile X syndrome. It's an X chromosome abnormality that results in overall developmental delay. And the literature on it's pretty depressing. So he has lots of developmental delays, and we were told stuff he couldn't do. And the literature was so depressing on it. You know what we did? We threw the literature away. We decided we're going to make our son live in a normal world as best he could, and he has just done incredible. And he is currently, and I'm so appreciative to this university here at Mississippi State University. 3 school years ago, they started a special program called the Access Program for students with intellectual disabilities to be able to come and live on the college campus, go to classes, eat in the cafeteria, go to every sporting event known to man or woman. And my son was the 2nd student in that program and has finished 2 years in the program. Okay. When I was practicing law before I went to Congress, we hired students out of Pearl High School who were in the special ed department to come work part-time in my law office in the afternoons. It was a way to give something back. When I got to Washington, D.C., there was no such program, and so what we did is we worked with the Committee on House Administration that I was on, and also with George Mason University, which has a program called Mason Life that's been going now for probably 10 or 11 years, somewhat of what Mississippi State has modeled their access program after. And so we started a pilot program with 5 House Republican friends of mine that agreed to help with it. And that was 3 years ago. It's now a permanent program, and it's finishing up its 3rd year with more than 20 House and Senate offices, Republicans and Democrats. It's a nonpartisan issue, and we're making a difference in these kids' lives. And so that's a great thing. All right. You know, it gives some, sometimes we need hope, don't we? Sometimes we get a little, I know nobody in here ever feels sorry for themselves or feels like the world's against you. But guys, sometimes we need a friend, and we always need to be a friend. So, and here's the thing. There's not a person in here that doesn't have a problem right now. We all got problems. But God loves every one of us. And I encourage you, don't ever give up. Don't ever take the easy way out. And if you can't find a friend that you need to talk to, you call my office. We got lots of great folks in my office, okay? Appreciate what you're doing. Do it right. God bless you. Thanks for letting me do it.